Well, good evening, Longhaultanker, straight razor shaving with Longhaultanker, and today's Friday, the 28th of February, 2025, last day of February, and doing a straight razor shave. I'm located at the Love's Truck Stop in, where am I? Ranger, Texas. Kind of between Fort Worth and Abilene. I'm to the east side of Clyde, if you were to look on a map. And my razor for tonight, I'm going to use the Bengal that I used 2 or 3 shaves ago. I haven't been home to change out my equipment. My brush is still the Zenith boar bristle, 27 millimeter, 27 and a half, I think they call it. And my soap, I've been using a lot of the Cella recently, red Cella, and I always carry a tube of C.O. Bigelow with me. I still have, I don't know, 3 or 4 of these along with this one, so I've got like maybe 4 or 5 total in possession right now, and I just love this. You can still get this, you got to order it off the internet. Bath and Body Works used to carry it. I haven't seen it on their website or in their stores for a long time, but I haven't needed it. And with my soap collection that I now have, so I've already got some on my face. As you can see, I've got some in my brush. I've got my angle up here, my camera sitting on top of the soap dispenser. I went off from the truck and forgot it. And so I apologize for that. And so I've got it sitting kind of, but I have a little bit to say, not much. I love the eucalyptus menthol in this soap. It's just fabulous, in my opinion. So, lest there be any doubt, today is the day that Donald Trump took down Vladimir Zelensky, the dictator president. I say that because his term has expired over a year ago. He continues to serve as president with dictatorial powers, or he just assumed those powers, and he refuses to sit for election. Commentators are saying today that he enjoys a 16% approval rating in Ukraine, and the people want him out and gone, apparently. And so Zelensky learned a lesson from the boss man today, and that is, have you seen those pictures where he's the boss man is sitting, he's got the fedora on, he's looking like a mafia don, and behind him there's a little sign that says FAFO. Well, Zelensky got a lesson today in FAFO, and it's going to be very. I understand that the Ukrainian Parliament has already announced that they're going to introduce articles of impeachment against Zelensky in the Ukraine, and I could not be happier. Now, I haven't been too vocal on this because I knew that it was United States policy to, under the former illegitimate regime, to support Ukraine, and what, $350 billion later, maybe even more, who knows. And so I never supported Zelensky. I got to tell you, over the last 20 years, a couple of decades, I think there has been a few wars, and I can name one, but I'm not going to. Well, heck, why not? Clinton, Kosovo. I was never. We were on the, in my opinion, we were on the wrong side of that war. Why is a Christian nation supporting Muslims against Christian people now, and fighting in a war that centuries old? Anyway, that said, this one's not so different. Is the Ukraine an independent, sovereign nation? And I think there is some serious question as to that particular point. And I knew there were some straight razor shavers as well that were not American that I am aware of. I think they were foreign to America, that is, and they were supporting Ukraine vocally. And so I wasn't going to rankle. But now that we have a regime, a administration change here in the United States, and we learned today that the boss man is not particularly a fan of Zelensky or Ukraine, and so not the people, but the administration and the policies and so I've never been a fan of Zelensky, and I'll go a step further and say I have been a tremendous fan, especially over the last few years, of the evil empire, what was formerly known as the evil empire. And hey, you don't like it, go suck beans. I don't, not particularly interested in what you like or don't like. And see if I got this right. Ukraine supports the Rainbow Mafia and the Azov Brigade, which is supposed to be a continuation of the Nazis of the 30s. And I'm thinking to myself, why are we as Americans and our hard-earned taxpayer money, and we find out even more here recently through USAID supporting gay mafia and Nazis in Ukraine? I don't get it. And so, and I'm not the only one who's made those connections. I don't know if I said it or not yet, but I forgot my mount in the truck, so I've got my camera sitting up funny over here. So I got home, I got back from my Atlanta run, and got this load going to Midland, Texas, and it loaded yesterday morning at 10 a.m. in Port Neches, Texas, which is just in the Beaumont, Texas area. So I got back to the yard about Wednesday, day before yesterday, on that load, and in the process of coming back, I was assigned to this load coming to Midland, and the trailer was on the yard. It's what we call a recycled trailer. That is to say, it was not washed out because it was a compatible product that was in it and what was going to be put on top of it as a new product. And so Wednesday, made my delivery on Tuesday, rushed back to Gulfport, Mississippi. On Wednesday, I got to the yard a little after noon, maybe 3 o'clock. Picked up the new trailer and I zipped back to Beaumont, Texas. That way I wouldn't have to drive that extra hour and a half from the yard to Beaumont, and I'd be in close proximity for my load time yesterday. Okay, so and so I left the truck stop yesterday morning at about 9:30 to go over to Port Neches to get loaded on this load for today at 10 o'clock yesterday morning, and everything went fine. They did hold me over just an extra hour. So normally by contract they're supposed to have you in and out, most places are, in and out in 2 hours. And being in Port Neches in the Beaumont area, I'm an hour over and I got to get an hour back. So there's 2 hours that are already burned off my clock for this load and the extra distance, which that's not the critical part that I want to make reference to. I've long had a principle that, to the best of that I could control, which for a truck driver, that's not saying much, that it's a fool's errand, it's a stupid choice, it is poor planning to have a day of loading or unloading and make it the plan. The planners love to plan, you know, and go 500 miles. So if you're going to load me and expect me to go 500 miles, you're an idiot. And that's just kind of a general principle throughout all of trucking. In my opinion, that should be a principle, a planning principle in all of trucking. But I don't think it is. There's just some people that just, I don't care how fast a truck can go. I don't care if it's unlimited. I don't care if you can go 90 miles an hour. Of course, that's not the speed limit, is it? And so most trucks are limited at 65 miles an hour. You can't go faster. Mine's not. We have a small company. We're not bound by certain regulations, and okay, fine, but that don't mean you can plan me going 70, 80 miles an hour all the time and expect me to go 650 to 700 miles a day. No, you should stick with the customary conventions. So, I said all that to say this. I got loaded, which is to say my load time was 10 o'clock yesterday morning. And they held me over for an extra hour, so from 10 to 12 to about 1 o'clock. I got underway. I went to the nearest the Love's truck stop in Beaumont, which is where I had to shave my last video. I got some fuel and did some things that I do when I get loaded or unloaded, whether fuel the truck, do my refills, water and ice or coffee, and before getting underway. So, or changing my clothes, going from the loading clothes, all the flame resistant clothing, FRCs and the steel-toed boots and the hard hat and all that nonsense, and take all that off and put it away, put on my driving clothes. There's my shirt behind me. Now, I had no idea what time the load was supposed to deliver. There was no delivery time on any of the paperwork. And so when I asked my boss, I texted him and I said, what's the delivery time on this? He said, well, when can you be there? Well, I could be there on Monday morning. Now, when he said that, what he was telling me was that it's an open delivery, be there as soon as possible. Well, if he had said that, I would have altered my plans. I would have stopped at a reasonable hour. And got in there a little bit later than what I did. But that said, and really it proved my point. So I got underway at 10 o'clock after from the truck stop. I left the truck stop at 9:30. I drove to delivery or load at my loading at 10 o'clock, and they got me loaded and out of there by 1 o'clock, and 1300 that is. Then the question of delivery came up. And my boss said, get there as soon as possible. Can you get there by 9 or 10 o'clock? And I said, I can answer that question better after I've stopped and calculated, and I'll keep you posted, I said. Which was just another way of saying I wasn't going to be forced into anything. So here's what happened. And this is the real point that I'm trying to get to, is that I stopped last night at 10 o'clock, at 2200 hours. And so from 10 in the morning to 10 at night, 12 hours, I had to stop in a rest area, not a truck stop. There's a big rest area out right here in Ranger, Texas. It's about 10 miles from this current location. And I'd say there's probably easily 200 parking places there. And so I parked there, and it was wide open when I pulled in at 10 o'clock last night. My water's not very hot in the sink. And it was only marginally warm, or a little better than warm. I would ask you to take a guess at how many miles I drove yesterday. Starting my day out to get loaded at 10 a.m. to ending my day at 2200 hours, 10 o'clock p.m. How many miles did I drive? Answer, 445 miles. And 12 hours on the clock, 12 hours working, so to speak. And I'm sure if you were on the clock for 12 hours, you would regard it as working. Not all of it was. When drivers don't load the truck, typically, I don't think I've ever loaded, maybe one time that I can recall off the top of my head. So, we don't load the truck. We might empty the truck, but that's a different process. So, it proved my rule that a 12-hour day combined of sitting and waiting for somebody to load or unload the truck, and then your driving hours to plan to go, a 12-hour day for a truck driver is a long day. You rarely hear me talk about a 12-hour day. By the way, this razor is the one that's got the deformed edge that you can barely notice. back here on the heel, right in here. But it's a nice edge. It's probably an Arkansas. It's a combination of an Arkansas or a Zulu gray. But I wanted to make mention of that because yesterday was a day that proved one of my little pet peeves. And I'm not real crazy about the way some trucking companies will run the drivers, especially with chemical and semi-local, semi-regional. When I was doing long haul what they call typically over the road, running from Houston to Calgary, Houston to Toronto, Houston to Portland, Houston to, a 2,000 mile run, an 15 to 1,800 mile run. I've had most of my runs here since with the new company has been more in the neighborhood of 800 miles, 700 miles, 600 miles. I think from Houston to, or even Beaumont for that matter, to Midland, Odessa is like right at around 700 miles. Got some soap on the scales, that's no good. So I got over here to this big rest area last night about 10 o'clock. And of course, to get my 10-hour break in, I'm not eligible to get up and start rolling, or that is to say, to start rolling until 8 o'clock this morning, which I did. And so I popped off, before I took off, I sent a text message because I was 3.5 hours from delivery and in Midland. So from the rest area, Ranger, Texas. For 3.5 hours. So I got a text message off to my boss saying I'd be there at 12 noon. I built in, I could have easily said 1300, 1 o'clock, and easily been justified to do so. But I told them I'd be there at noon, and I made a stop. Always, never go into the delivery until unless you've got, you got your refills, you've gone to the bathroom, you don't have anything personal outstanding. You've taken care of everything personal before going into a delivery, especially if you've had to drive 2, 3, 4 hours to get there. You want to be comfortable. You don't want to have an accident. You don't want to. And so I built myself in that little bit of extra time. And because there was a big truck stop en route, and I stopped there within 2 miles of my delivery point. One thing about the C.O. Bigelow soap, it loves to dry up. Just loves to dry up. It's thirsty, thirsty, thirsty. So I went into the truck stop, took care of my personal business, and went in for my delivery at 12 noon, and they put me up on the scale. They took my weight. They pulled me off the scale and told me to go park over there, and I sat there for 2 hours. Now, by contract, they're supposed to get me in and out, or we don't get paid what they call the demurrage pay. And so that's the demurrage pay is when they have exceeded the contract time allotment to get me unloaded and out of there. The idea that's supposed to motivate them to honor their agreement to have me come in at 12 noon, or anytime, once I arrive, they have 2 hours to well, that feels nice. I was going to wipe all that off. Maybe get away with a 2-pass shave. Nah. All right, we'll do the 3rd pass. How about that, boss man? I tell you what, there's some changes coming that if I told you what I believe and what I think is coming, you'd call me crazy. Rome and Greece were the dominant powers in the world at one time. until they weren't. And things don't stay the same, do not stay the same, do they? They do change. And it's hard to imagine, it's hard to fathom how they might change. Even if somebody were to tell you exactly, here's what we've got planned. How many commentators have you heard who are already talking about Trump and Vance running for re-election in 28? I've heard a whole bunch. And I'm not just talking about I'm not going to say fringe, but I will say alternative, because mainstream media, if you haven't figured it out yet, is dead. Nobody cares what James Carville thinks. Nobody cares about what Joy Reid thinks, or Rachel Maddow. I mentioned all of those. Well, Joy Reid got fired, Don Lemon got fired. And while Rachel Maddow hadn't gotten fired yet, all of her production staff did get fired. Now, how does that work? I don't know. So, and even Jeff Bezos at the Washington Post says, yeah, we're going to spend a little more time on free speech issues. Well, thanks. Tell me again how it is that, who was it that said it, that free speech leads to Nazism? Unless you misunderstand, I am completely in support of Donald Trump and his takedown of Zelensky and his coming takedown. Even Marco Rubio today, after the meeting, terminated a financing program for electricity for the people of Ukraine. Why are we paying for their utility infrastructure? I don't get it. Don't get it. I don't want to get it either. I just want it stopped. And let's make America great again. And what was it that Mexico did here just yesterday? Was it yesterday morning? I heard this overnight. A couple of the big cartel guys were apprehended and surrendered to American authorities. Yeah. Now tell me that didn't put the president of Mexico on a hit list. instead of mocking Donald Trump, she complied with Donald Trump. I love it. I absolutely love it. And as we're going to see a lot more of that too. Absolutely hilarious. He didn't even stay for lunch. He was ordered off the White House grounds today, wasn't he? And it just, oops. Don't mess with the boss man. Oh, if I didn't explain and you don't know, the FAFO is that expression, F around and find out. So I'm about 6.5 hours to the yard. I gotta go through Fort Worth tomorrow. Fort Worth I-20 Fort Worth connects me to 287 US 287 South. That'll take me in a southeasterly direction, eventually intersecting with Interstate 45, and take that south. To Houston. All right. Let's go ahead and do a head shave so I can get a haircut before the shower this evening. I don't know why I did that. So I got my clippers in my bag, put them in my bag. I remember Lynn Abrams saying in many of his videos and several of the older guys back then, 10 years ago, saying, and I never quite understood, maybe until just this very moment, shaving my head, they would say, just shave the lather, just shave the soap. And I felt it when I was just a few moments ago. I felt no need to apply any more pressure than just to pick up the soap. There's a lot of little things that you'll hear, especially if you're new and starting off and you're watching all the videos. Current guys like me and the guys that I watch, and the things that they say and the things that I say, and then you go back and look at the old guys I say the old guys like I'm a spring chicken, from 10 plus years ago. And it's interesting how I'm saying things that they used to say. Of course, I remember it because I watched them, right? But I'm also understanding what they were talking about now based upon my experience and the skill set that I've been able to develop over the last 10 years. I'm not going to be too particular about that. Right now, it's always hard to see. Like I said, I'm not going to be too particular about it. I'll pick some of that apart on my next shave. Let's see, which will probably be Monday morning, early afternoon maybe. All right, I'm going to call it quit. No, I got one more thing to do. The back of my neck. I always like doing the back of my neck.
So I'll probably get underway I'll get up about 6 tomorrow morning and get underway about 7. I'll have a nice cup of coffee and so I'm likely to be off of work next week through Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday. Tuesday, is my medical appointment. I'm a big advocate, and you've heard me talk about this from time to time. I'm a big advocate of the colonoscopy. And it was in April of last year that I did my regular 5-year follow-up, 4 or 5-year follow-up. My doctor said, hey, it's time for your colonoscopy. My GP, my family doctor. And he said, you might want to get that done. I said, okay. Which I'm happy to do. I've always done what he's told me to do, and lo and behold, and I've been going to this enterologist. I forget what the proper designation is, name. I think I'm close. And so this was last April. He took out a 22 millimeter polyp. And this is like the 4th or 5th colonoscopy I've ever had. And the second one with this doctor. And Tuesday will be the 3rd with this doctor. And so he took out a 22 millimeter, and I've always had polyps, and so they sent him off for biopsy. I got the phone call, and well, Mr. Leon, you got one of the big polyp we took out had cancer in it, and so I had cancer, then I didn't have cancer after he removed the polyp, and I was supposed to do a 6-month follow-up, and I didn't. I got too caught up in work. I got too caught up in the good loads that I was having all summer and late, early fall into September. I should have had my follow-up in late August, early September, and I didn't. And then I didn't have insurance, and I didn't have a job, and all of that stress that followed through October, November, until I got the job and got the insurance, and had to make the appointment for 2 months out because that's how busy he was and backed up. And I could kick myself for not following up with my 6-month follow-up from, I had cancer, colon cancer, one of the worst kinds of cancer. Did I follow up when I was supposed to? No. Well, I was anticipating that things would slow down in the fall, in the winter, and I would go in November, December, but you don't know what's going to happen. Ozma Allen Block. And so Tuesday is a date that I have been long anticipating and long waiting for the follow-up on last April's examination and discovery. And I just need the all clear. And I will be very grateful and thankful for it. All right. I think that's done. I think I'm done. I'm sorry for the t-shirt and not a full shirt. I don't know what I was thinking. But anyway, I'm done. I'll be home tomorrow. I'll be back on camera Monday, which is procedure day. If you've ever, you know what I mean. All right, I'll see you down the road.